Om Vishwandarpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyan Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivod Bhutan Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanameva Dvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtham Shaktin cha Tatputra Parasharam cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padma Padam cha Hastamalakam cha Shishyam Tantotakam Vartikakaram Asmadgurun Santatamanatosmi Shrutismritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaran Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Parabrahmanishtham Swato Dharmanishtham Ahimsaikanishtham Swashishye Sujushtam Yatinam Varishtham Gurunam Garishtham Dayananda Rupam Madacharya Mide Namah Shri Paramathaya Sansaradhyasanashine Shrotriya Brahmanisthaya Tasmai Brahmavide Namaha Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Start with the Mangala Shloka. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate. I welcome you all to the 42nd class of the Fundamentals of Vedanta series. The Tattva Bodha gave out the essence of Vedanta in the Sutra Vakyam Ātmā Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. That you, the Ātmā, are Satyam and everything else, that is Anātmā, is Mithya. The implications of this are just enormous. As we discussed, it turns my vision of the world upside down. I think that I am a small creature in this world. Really speaking, what Vedanta is telling me is that the entire world is in me. And the entire world, the entire Anātmā prapancha is Mithya, and you are the Satyam. So as we saw in one of the principles relating to Satyam and Mithya, Satyam can never be affected by Mithya. A dent in the bangle can never affect the gold. Mirage water can never wet the sand. The dream can never affect the waker. Similarly, anything in a lower order of reality can never affect the higher order of reality. And what Vedanta is telling me is that you are the highest order of reality that is. Everything else is in a lower order of reality. It cannot touch you, it cannot affect you. This understanding, a clear understanding of this itself is moksha. This is the purnatvam. Because I become free of all the possible apurnatvam that can be brought in because of the mithya prapancha. whether it relates to body, mind, family, possessions, profession, anything. Since it's all mithya, it is in a lower order of reality. Whatever happens there cannot really touch me. This is the final message that Vedanta wants us to arrive at. This is the final vision. But when I hear this, as we said, there are roadblocks. Because I'm not willing to accept this. Why? Because I say I am this small body mind. How can I be the Satya? Vedanta says that you have mixed up the Ātmā and Anātmā. When Vedanta says you, it's referring to the Ātmā. But when I say I am referring to a mixture of the Ātmā and Anātmā. And therefore, there's a disconnect between the meaning that Vedanta intends me to see versus the meaning that I am seeing for the word I. So, Ātmā is the real meaning of the word I. And Vedanta wants me to see that real meaning that I have been missing throughout my life. I have been using the word I, but without understanding what it is really referring to. So, Ātmā kaha. Student said, okay, since I am confused, if you're telling me that I am mistaken, then you tell me what is the Atma, you tell me who I am. Vedanta said, Stula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha Panchakoshatita San Avasthatraya Sakshi Satchidananda Swarupa San Yastishtati Sa Atma. So 11 negations. 3 categories of Anātmās are negated here. 11 in all. Shariratrayam, Kosha Panchakam, and Avasthatrayam. And why are these negations necessary? Because that is the level at which I am getting stuck. Those are the things I am mixing up with the Atma and taking myself to be that. The way the text progresses is that it takes each of the Anātmās, so that I understand that this Anātmā is really Anātmā. So that I can sift through the Anātmās and then see what is left. That must be the Ātmā. I need to understand the Anātmā as the Anātmā so that I can exclude that Anātmā and the attributes of the Anātmā from my vision of who I am. This is the entire process. So then, Stula Shariram Kim. What is the first Anātmā? Stula Shariram. As we saw, Panchīkrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam Satkarmajanyam Sukha-dukkhadi Bhoga Sadhanam. Shariram asti jayate vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati iti षड्विकारवत् etat stula sharira. So each sharira, each of these 3 shariras is analyzed from the point of view of perceptibility, causes, function, constituents, and nature. I can see your sthula shariram, you can see my sthula shariram. What is the cause? Panchīkrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam. It is made of the 5 grossified 5 elements: Akashaha, Vayuhu, Agnihi, Jalam, and Prithvi, all inert. But since they are gross, they are visible to the senses. Therefore, this body is visible to the senses. My senses as well as your senses. Satkarma Janyam. is born because of the fructification of certain punya from the bundle of sanchita karma. That part that is fructifying called prarabdha karma is responsible for the production of this body. And since this human body is the most evolved body amongst all these various creatures we see around us, this sat karma janyam jantunam nara jarma durlabham. And it's a temporary residence where the Jivatma resides and experiences the pleasures and pains. Therefore, sukha dukkhadi bhoga sadhanam. And when the prarabdha is exhausted, then this Jivatma leaves this body. And what are its constituents? It's basically the physical seat of the organs of knowledge and the organs of action. Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas. It's the physical seat. The Golakas are in the physical body. Finally, Shad Vikaravat, it has these six-fold modifications that is its nature from birth to death. Cannot be separated from the body. Every body has to go through this. Shad Vikaravat, etat sthula sharir. Then we looked at the Drigdrishya Viveka Prakriya. Because this is the level at which I am getting stuck. I am saying, I am this body. Vedanta says Drig is always separate from the Drishyam. The knower is always separate from the known. The attributes of the known belong to the known, never to the knower. I never mistake the star or this train or my house or this cloth as we discussed. I don't mistake these to be me. I don't say I am this cloth, I am this house. I am very clear that the attributes of the house belong to the house, the attributes of this cloth belong to the cloth. But when it comes to this body, I say, I am 6 feet tall, I am 60 kgs, I am tall, I am fair, I am dark, I am young, I am old, I am healthy, I am unhealthy. There's a sudden jump when it comes to this body. Vedanta says this body is also as much known as that star is known, as the train is known, as this house is known, as this cloth is known. The body is also known. And since it's known, there is a knower that is different from the known. And you are that knower who is different from the known body. Why are you taking the attributes of the body to be your attributes? Why are you saying, I am this body? I argue, saying that this body is actually sentient. It is not like this house or cloth or anything else that you just talked about. The body is sentient. I can feel myself pervading this body. Vedanta tells me that the sentiency that I attribute to the body doesn't really belong to the body. Why? Because it's panchamahabhutaih kritam. Is made of these five elements that are inert. How can a mixture of inert ingredients suddenly produce something that is sentient? And moreover, this sentiency also departs the body during unconscious state or anesthesia or death. If this sentiency was the nature of the body, it should not depart the body at all, but it does. So this sentiency of the body is borrowed sentiency. It is on the body, but not off the body. Exactly like light is on the moon, but light is not off the moon. The light on the moon is borrowed light. Similarly, the sentiency in the body is borrowed sentiency. Borrowed from whom? borrowed from you, the Ātmā, the Drik. You are of the nature of consciousness and you have lent sentiency to this body. And you are taking yourself to be this body because you don't know who you are. So, one may say that, okay, I see what you're saying here. There's something I have to contemplate more on, and I will do that. But in the meantime, even if I am willing to consider excluding my body from my vision of who I am, I'm still affected by my mind. I experience all these fluctuations in my mind. There's desire, there's anger, there's sorrow. So then I have that desire, I have anger, I have sorrow. So I am my mind. What do you say about that? Vedanta says, here too you're getting stuck at Anātmā number 2, the Sukshma Sharira. What is the Sukshma Sharira? Sukshma Shariram Kim? So we saw this the last time. Apanchīkrita Panchamahabhutaih Kritam Satkarmajanyam Sukhadukhadi Bhoga Sadhanam Pancha Jnanendriyani Pancha Karmendriyani Pancha Pranadayaha Manaschaikam Buddhischaika Evam Saptadasha Kalabhihi Saha Yah Yat Tishtati Tat Sukshma Shariram. So here there is a small correction that I'd like to point out from in the definition that that I had sent in the PDF. It is Sapta Dasha Kalabhihi and not Sapta Dasha Kalabhihi. So you can note that correction, and when I send out the next version, I'll make this correction there as well. So here too, the Sukshma Shariram is analyzed from the point of view of the same 5 criteria: perceptibility, causes, function, nature, and constituents. So, as the word Sukshma indicates, the perceptibility is different from that of the Sthula Sharira. My Sthula Sharira is visible to you, your Sthula Sharira is visible to me. But then my Sukshma Sharira is not visible to you, your Sukshma Sharira is not visible to me. That is why it is Sukshma. Because it is made of the Sukshma Panchabhutas, Apanchikrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam. We said the Sthula Sharira is made of Panchikrita Panchamahabhutas, means grossified Panchamahabhutas. Whereas this is Apanchikrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam. It is the subtle Panchabhutas that are not visible to the senses. And what is special about these subtle Panchabhutas? They are a very much finer material. It's also matter. Let there be no doubt about that. It is matter. But it is a much, much finer matter as compared to these grossified Panchamahabhutas. And it is so fine that it has the capability to reflect the original consciousness, the Ātmā, the consciousness aspect of the Ātmā. Just as a mirror in front of me being made of very fine material, smooth material, shiny material, it's able to capture my reflection. So this subtle body, this Sukshma Sharira, being made of the Sukshma Panchabhutas, is able to have a reflection of consciousness in it. It is not the original, it is also borrowed consciousness, borrowed from Ātmā through the Karana Shariram, as we'll see. So this is the causes, these are the causes. And when it comes to its function, we said it is Sukha Dukkhadi Bhoga Sadhanam. So the Sthula Shariram was said to be Sukha Dukkhadi Bhoga Ayatanam. It is a residence where the Sukha and Dukkha experiences take place. Whereas in the Sukshma Shariram is the means for the Sukha and Dukkha experiences. How is it the means? First of all, it enlimens the Sthula Shariram. The Sthula Shariram is inert. It is enlivened only because of the presence of the Sukshma Shariram. The Sukshma Shariram lends sentiency to this physical body. Just as if you remove all the software from a laptop, then what is it? It is just a piece of metal and plastic all combined together. You press the startup button, nothing happens. Why? Because that software is not there. It is the presence of this Sukshma Sharira that enlimens this body, first of all. And secondly, any interactions require certain instruments. First of all, for Sukha Dukkhadi Bhoga. Bhoga means experiences. For experiences of Sukha and Dukkha, these experiences can arise only if there are interactions with the world. In a dead body, there is no interaction with the world. And therefore, there is no Sukha and Dukkha experience. In a sleeping body, in the sleeping individual, there is no interaction with the world. There is no Sukha or Dukkha in sleep. In sleep, one is as though liberated from samsara. But it's only a temporary one, because when one wakes up, the samsara starts again. It was never really gone, only appears to be gone temporarily. For experiences, interactions are required. For interactions, certain instruments are required. And the Sukshma Shariram provides these instruments in the form of these Pancha Jnanendriyani, Pancha Karmendriyani. Then the next point is nature. The nature is not explicitly mentioned here, but we know it from other Vedantic texts, what the nature is. And it is also, we can also derive it from here, partly because it says Satkarma Janyam. So it is also Janyam. It is also born. As we said, the Sthula Sharira is born at the time of conception. But when was the Sukshma Sharira born? So much before that. During the beginning of Srishti itself. And we said, just like this dream arises in a sleeping individual, similarly the Srishti arises from Ishvara. And when Srishti arises, at that point, the Sukshma Shariras of all the Jivatmas who are going to participate in the creation, the Sukshma Shariras also arise. Arise from where? From the Karana Shariram, which we'll discuss. That's the third of the Shariratrayam. This Karana Shariram is resident in Maya. So it is janyam. On what basis are these sukshma shariras determined? Karma janyam. Karma janyam. So karma is the specific cause. Based on all these karmas that this Jivatma had gathered in the prior srishtis, the whole bundle is there. And a part of that starts to fructify, and that results in this Sukshma Sharira at the beginning of the next Srishti. And we said that in a human body it can be said to be Sat Karma Janyam, because the full capability of the Sukshma Sharira is manifest in this human body. The higher order thinking, the free will, the deliberation to do this or to not do this, dharma pursuit, moksha pursuit, all of this is possible. Why? Because this Sukshma Shariram is manifesting all its capabilities in the human body. And since the human body is Satkarma Janyam, we say the Sukshma Sharira is also Satkarma Janyam. So it is born all right. Now when does it die? So during death, does the Sukshma Sharira die? And we said that during death, it's just a separation of the Sukshma Sharira from the Sthula Sharira. The Sukshma Sharira continues to travel and take up other bodies in different lokas or in the same loka. And it's constantly under modification in the Sukshma Shariram in the waking state. All kinds of vrittis take place. So it is savikaram, it's constantly being modified through the use of the Jnanendriyas. Whatever I see, there's a vritti in the mind. That's a modification in the Sukshma Sharira. One may have virtues and vices. One may know that I have certain vices. One works on it and tries to remove those vices and cultivate values. All these are like modifications in the Sukshma Sharira. So it is savikaram. And when does it finally go? Said it is during the end of the Srishti, during Pralayam, all the Sukshma Sharira, all the Jivas are withdrawn, they go back into the Karana Sharira. And in this meantime, it would have taken innumerable births in different Sthula Shariras. So this is the nature of the Sukshma Sharira. And what are its constituents? This is what we were discussing in the last class. Saptadasha kalabhihi saha yattishtati tat sukshma shariram. Saptadasha kalabhihi, it has these 17 parts. What are the 17 parts? The Pancha Jnanendriyas, the Pancha Karmendriyas, the Pancha Pranaha, Manaschaikam, Buddhischaika. These Jnanendriyas are input organs. As we said, to have any experience, I have to interact. For the interaction, I need instruments. The Jnanendriyas are the instruments of interaction through which I get the data from the world. This Jnanendriya results in Jnanam in my mind, some knowledge about the current state of the world. And that Jnanam can either result, that Jnanam will result in a desire, Ichha. Either to pursue what I see or to move away from what I see. Pravritti or Nivritti. And that desire, for that desire to be implemented, one has to use the Karmendriyas, the organs of action, through which I control my body, and through the body I try to rearrange the world around me in keeping with my likes and dislikes, ragadveshas. So Pancha Jnanendriyani, Pancha Karmendriyani, Pancha Pranaha. These pranas, they are not themselves directly engaged in interaction with the world, but they continue to sustain this body. And then there is a manas, manaha, where the deliberation takes place about what I should do, what I should not do, etc. And finally, the buddhi, where the decision takes place. This is what I should be doing. These are the 17 constituents. And in the waking state, all of these are active. The Pancha Jnanendriyani active, Pancha Karmendriyani, they are active. The pranas are active, obviously. Manaha is active, buddhi is active. When one goes to dream, the Pancha Jnanendriyani, Pancha Karmendriyani, they are withdrawn. Because one is no longer interacting with this world, this gross world. But then the manaha, the mind is active, the buddhi is active, and the pranas are active in dream state. Then in deep sleep state, even the mind and the buddhi are withdrawn. It is just the pranas that are active. So now the text gets into each of these Jnanendriyas first. We only read that portion partially, so we'll read that portion completely now and then proceed further. So this is on page 5, page 6. Page 6 at the top. And we will read that portion. Shrotram tvakchakshuhu rasanaghranamiti panchajnanendriyani.
Shrotram chvakshuhu rasanaghranam iti panchajnanendriyani.
Shrotrasya digdevata.
Shrotrasya digdevata.
Tvacho vayuhu.
Tvacho vayuhu.
Chakshushah suryaha.
Chakshushah suryaha.
Rasanaya varunaha.
Rasanaya varunaha.
Ghranasya ashvinau.
Ghranasya ashvinau.
Iti jnanendriya devataha.
Iti jnanendriya devataha.
Shrotrasya vishayah shabdagrahanam.
Shrotrasya vishayah shabdagrahanam.
Tvacho vishayah sparshagrahanam.
Tvacho vishayah sparshagrahanam.
Chakshusho vishayah rupagrahanam.
Chakshusho vishayah rupagrahanam.
Rasanaya vishayah rasagrahanam.
Rasanaya vishayah rasagrahanam.
Ghranasya vishayah gandhagrahanamiti.
Ghranasya vishayah gandhagrahanam iti.
So here it gives the details about the Pancha Jnanendriyani. They are Shrotram, Tvak, Chakshuhu, Rasana, and Ghranam. The organ of hearing, the organ of touch. So Shrotram is the organ of hearing. Tvak is the organ of touch. Chakshuhu, the organ of sight. Rasana, the organ of taste. And Ghranam, the organ of smell. These are the Pancha Jnanendriyas. So when we refer to the Jnanendriyas, as we were discussing in the last class also, we are not talking about these physical things in the body. These are known as Golakas. The physical location of these organs are called Golakas. And they are a part of the Sthula Sharira. But this discussion comes under the Sukshma Sharira. So we are not referring to the Golakas here, but we are referring to the Indriya. So there is a difference between the Golaka and the Indriya. The Indriya is a part of the Sukshma Shariram. The Golaka is a part of the Sthula Shariram. And as we saw, Indriyam, Atindriyam, meaning that the Indriyam cannot be grasped by the Indriya itself. The Indriya cannot know this Indriya because it is beyond the Indriya. So this organ, the physical organ can be seen, but the Golaka can be seen, but the Indriya cannot be seen. In the dead body, the Golaka is there. The eyes are there, the ears are there. But then the dead body does not see or hear anything. Why? Because the Sukshma Sharira is absent. The Jnanendriya is absent. Similarly, in a blind person, sometimes the defect is in the Golaka and one can see that. But sometimes the Golaka is fine. Golaka is there. But still this person is blind. The reason is that the Jnanendriya is not functioning. When I go to an ophthalmologist, tell him, doctor, I cannot see clearly. Then he shows me this chart and asks me, so what can you read? You read and tell me. I say, I can read the first two lines. I cannot see what is the third line. I cannot see that. Then he places some lens in front of my eye and says, can you see? I say, it's a little better. Then he changes the lens. Now can you see? Yeah, now I can see. Third line. But fourth line is still very, very blurry. Then he puts another lens. Yeah, now I can see everything. And then he writes some prescription. And I say the doctor has given this prescription for the lens. Really speaking, it is I who determined what that prescription should be. I told the doctor whether I can see or not. The doctor, no matter how many instruments the doctor uses to look at this Golaka, the doctor cannot figure out whether I can see or not. Whether I can see or not, I alone know. The doctor has no way of telling. That is why even after he studied 10 years of MBBS and all of that, he still has to ask me whether I can see or not. All of these advancements in science and technology, the doctor cannot figure out with all of those instruments whether I can see or not. I alone know that. Why? Because it's the operation of the Sukshma Sharira, the Jnanendriya. The same when I go for a hearing aid, then they make sounds of different frequencies. Can you hear? Can you hear now? Can you hear now? He has to interview me. And then he makes some kind of a plot that says what can I hear, what frequencies I cannot hear. And on that basis alone, he gives me the hearing aid. With all of these advanced instruments, he cannot probe my ear. This physical organs tell me whether I'm hearing or not. I have to tell him that. Indriyam is Atindriyam. This Indriyam and its operation and its successful operation, its clear operation, its non-operation, etc. I alone know. Nobody else can tell me. So now here it discusses each of these Indriyas. And then it gives the names of the devatas of each of these Indriyas. And then it gives the field of operation of each of these Indriyas. We have to understand what it means by this devata. Shrotrasya dig devata tvacho vayuhu, etc. So this is an interesting thing to ponder over. If we take my eye, the way my eye works and the way your eye works, the principles behind the operation of the eye, whether it be my eye or your eye or an eye anywhere, an operating eye, the principles behind its operation, they are all common. For example, we look at the operation of the eye. It is a magnificent organ. There is this eyeball. In front of it, there is this curved area. The curvature is very important. That's the cornea. That's the curved area. The curvature is important because that's how it bends the light. And then in front, there is this pupil that controls the amount of light that enters. If there's too much light, then the pupil contracts. If there is less light, the pupil expands to let more light in. And there is this iris that controls the size of the pupil. And then there is this lens, which contributes to bending of the light, the refraction that happens in the eye. And there is a muscle that controls the shape of this lens also. Because if I'm looking at something close, then the lens has to be able to create a focused image. In these old cameras, we had to manually do this kind of adjustment to get a sharp image. And manually open the aperture and lower the aperture, etc. So that all is inspired by the design of the eye. So this muscle controls the shape of the lens to create a focused image. And all of this happens without my will being involved. My will is not involved in all this. And then there is an image that is formed on the retina. It's an upside down image. And that image is then corrected to be the right side up. And then I get this three-dimensional view of this world. The laws are not completely understood. How this whole thing works to create this beautiful three-dimensional image of the world that I see in front of me. Vedanta offers an explanation for this, but that is beyond the scope of our current discussion. But the point here is that there is so much knowledge and so much of this intricate design involved in the operation of this eye. Similarly, we take this ear. And there's an eardrum, which is like a stretched piece of fabric, like we have on the drum. When we strike it, then it vibrates, it creates a sound. And there's this eardrum that is like this stretched tissue that behaves like a stretched fabric. When the sound from outside strikes it, there is a certain vibration. And then there are bones, small bones that are attached to the eardrum. Very, very small bones, the smallest bones in the body. And they transfer the vibration to the inner ear. And then this middle ear, it is connected to my throat. And the reason it's connected to my throat is so that the pressure on the outside and the inside can be equalized, because if this pressure is not equal, for example, if I'm traveling in a flight or if I go to a high altitude, if the pressure outside is less than the pressure inside my body, then the eardrum can rupture just like a balloon explodes. Or if the pressure outside is high and inside is lower, again the same thing can happen. So what happens is when I swallow, the pressure inside becomes equal to the pressure outside, and that maintains the balance of this pressure. So just contemplating on the intricate mechanisms that are involved in the functioning of these organs, that shows how much intelligence and knowledge goes behind each organ. So now if we see that the way every eye operates, it operates based on the same principles. The way every ear operates, it operates based on the same principles. There are the same laws involved, the same kind of design, the same kind of interactions with the world. It is not that Ishvara comes in and says, "Oh, I have to design this for this person. I have to design an eye for this person. I have to design an eye." It is not like that. So there is an order that pervades this operation of this organ wherever it be. And if the organ does not operate also properly, then we say that is some kind of disorder. But the interesting thing is there is an order in the disorder also. That is why study of disorder of organs is possible, study of diseases is possible. If every individual had their own disease, then the doctor would be useless. Because even after having studied for 10 years, the doctor cannot fix this person's problem. Why? Because there's something he has that I have not understood. Largely, yes, there can be some deviant cases where new diseases surface. But largely, the reason the medical profession is there is because there's a commonality in the diseases also. So there is a certain order even in the disorder. So there is all of these laws, so much knowledge involved. There is a blueprint for every organ. There's a template for how every organ works. One way to think about this is that is a modern analogy that we all have on mobile phones. And if we take an app on the mobile phone, like it may be the Ola app or the Amazon app or the Ashtadhyayi app, whatever it be. So the way that app works on my app, my phone, and the way the app works on your phone is the same. The principles involved in the working of the app, the design, its blueprint, the template of how the app works. It's the same whichever phone you take. So it is not that if I need the Ola app, I don't have to say, Ola, I call the company and say, hey, I need your app. So can you come and develop this app for my phone? So he doesn't come and start writing code in your house saying that I'm now creating this app for your phone. So all that is already done. All I do is I go somewhere and download this app on my phone. And then I inherit the power of that app from some source. The mobile phone suddenly gets the power of the app. It starts to use the camera and the speaker and the microphone. In the Sthula Shariram, this is like the Sthula Shariram. So the app suddenly starts to use all these things in the Sthula Shariram of the phone. So there is a certain company or an entity or a developer who is responsible for creating and maintaining this app. It is there. It is there somewhere in the cloud. I don't know where it is, but I just get it on my phone. And then my phone gets the power of this app. So similarly, my organs, I am not the author of my organs. Even my parents are not the author of these organs. The author of the organs is there because there is so much intricate design and functionality and knowledge, and there's all of this blueprint of the working of the organ that is there. So all of the knowledge and the principles, there is some governing body. Just like there is a governing body for this app, there is a governing entity that governs the functioning of this organ. So as we have discussed, when we talked about Ishvaraha, this entire world is a manifestation of Ishvara. Before this world came into being, Ishvara alone was there, like a person in deep sleep. And where does Ishvara get the material from? Ishvara himself is the material. Abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. We talked about this. So Ishvara himself becomes this world. Because there is no other material Ishvara can get to create this world. Ishvara becomes this world. Therefore, the Ishvara pervades this world. Given that there is this entity that is responsible for every organ, governing that organ, that entity is also pervaded by Ishvara. It's a manifestation of Ishvara. Therefore, this is the Devata. When Ishvara is looked at from that limited standpoint of the functioning of the organ, then we refer to that entity as Ishvara, as Devata. Ishvara, from the standpoint of this function, capability, faculty of hearing, we look upon that as Dik Devata. Shrotrasya Dik Devata. Vacho Vayuhu. Similarly, there is this faculty of touching, touch. I feel these sensations, how this organ works, its blueprint, it's all of its detailed workings, etc. They're there in the creation. I just inherit that power from it. That is referred to Ishvara from the standpoint of the faculty, capability, function of touch. Is Vayuhu Devata. And Chakshushaha Suryaha. From the Ishvara, from the standpoint of the faculty of seeing, is Surya Devata. Granasya Rasanayaha Varunaha. From the faculty of taste. This taste and smell is something that science has still not been able to mimic in some way. Because if you look at it, a camera in some way tries to mimic our organ of vision, and this microphone tries to mimic the organ of hearing. And this tasting, smelling, and touching, it is still, you see, not quite mimicked by science. If it was possible to transfer tastes or smells or touches through science, perhaps you can say touch also has been mimicked to a certain extent, because you can touch this mobile and it does all kinds of things. But smell and taste, not yet. Otherwise, it might be possible, for example, that you are cooking some food at your place and I sitting here can somehow smell it or even taste it. That technology is not yet there. So now just see how much is involved in the working of this organ. It's just amazing. Smells, tastes. So there is this governing devata for both of these. Rasanayaha Varuna. So Ishvara, from the standpoint of this governing governance of this organ of taste is Varunaha. And Granasya Ashvinam. For the organ of smell, we look upon Ishvara from that standpoint of the governance of smell as Ashvinau. Ashvinau is Dvivachanam, twins. They are twin devatas because there are these two nostrils. Now, having discussed these devatas, it gets into the area of function of each of these Jnanendriyas. So as we looked at in the Pramana discussion, every Pramana has this independent sphere of operation in which it has undisputed validity, reliability, trustworthiness. But the important thing here is the independent spheres of operation. Here it mentions Shrotrasya Vishayaha Shabda Grahanam. That the area of functioning of the Shrotrendriya is sounds. Vacho Vishayaha Sparsha Grahanam. The area of operation of the Tvagindriya is touches. Chakshushaha Vishayaha Rupagrahanam. The eyes, they function in the area of colors and forms, but it refers to primarily colors here. Rasanayaha Vishayaha Rasagrahanam. The organ of taste functions in the field of taste. And Granasya Vishayaha Gandhagrahanam. The organ of smell functions in the area of smells. So as we said that the organ of touch pervades the entire body. That's important because anything crawling anywhere, I'm able to know about it immediately. Now, with regards to this sound and sight, another very important thing to note here is that this presents the object. If I look at my organ of seeing, the image is formed on the eye, my eyeball. But then I don't see that object sitting here on my eye. I see the object where it is. I see the distant star at a distance. I see this phone nearby as nearby. I can even judge the distance. That is so far away. This is probably a couple of feet away. That is 100 meters away. I can even judge where how far it is. Similarly, with sounds also, I can say that object there made a sound. It came from my right or my left or my front, whatever. But with regards to tasting, smelling, and touching, the organ, the object has to physically contact the golakam. With regards to smell, taste, and touch. Let's take the smell, for example. I get some foul smell, right? And I'm trying to detect where it's coming from. Now, like my organ of seeing or hearing, I cannot immediately say it's coming from here or there. I have to move around. And then I see an intensity increase or intensity decrease in the smell. And even after the smell becomes intense, as we move the furniture around and then see, there's a dead rat or a dead lizard or something like that. I know where it is only when my Chakshurindriya contacts it. Just with my Ghanendriya, I cannot determine the exact location. So even these small particles from that object travel to the nose, and that is what creates this sensation of smell. They physically contact the golaka. So also if some object is just 2 millimeters away from my tongue, I cannot tell its taste. It has to be placed on the tongue. Or if an object is 2 millimeters away from my skin, I cannot tell the texture. I have to physically touch it. So these are the areas of operation of the Jnanendriyas. Now, the next topic here is the Karmendriyas. We will read that now. Vak pani pada payupasthaniti panchakarmendriyani.
वाक् पाणिपादपायु उपस्थानि इति पञ्चकर्मेन्द्रियाणि
Vacho devata vannihi.
वाचो देवता वह्निः
Hastayorindraha.
हस्तयोरिन्द्रः
Padayorvishnuhu.
पादयोर्विष्णुः
Payormrityuhu.
पायोर्मृत्युः
Upasthasya prajapatihi.
उपस्थस्य प्रजापतिः
इति कर्मेन्द्रियदेवताः.
इति कर्मेन्द्रियदेवताः
वाचो विषयः भाषणम्.
वाचो विषयः भाषणम्
पाण्योर्विषयः वस्तुग्रहणम्.
पाणयोर्विषयः वस्तुग्रहणम्
पाण्योर्विषयः वस्तुग्रहणम्.
पाण्योर्विषयः वस्तुग्रहणम्
पादयोर्विषयः गमनम्.
पादयोर्विषयः गमनम्
पायोर्विषयः मलत्यागः.
पायोर्विषयः मलत्यागः
उपस्थस्य विषयः आनन्द इति.
उपस्थस्य विषयः आनन्द इति.
Here Tattva Bodha is introducing the Pancha Karmendriyani. They are Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu and Upastha. Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu and Upastha. So Vak is the organ of speech, Vagindriyam. Panihi refers to the organ, my hands, Hastaha basically. Hastayor Indraha, there it refers to it as Hastam, here it refers to it as Panihi. The organ of grasping, organ of handling objects. Then Pada, the feet, for locomotion. Payuhu refers to the organs of evacuation. Evacuation of solid and liquid waste. And Upastaha refers to the organ of reproduction. So again, these are referring to the Indriyas, not the Golakas. It is not these physical organs in the body. Because this physical organ of this Vak, the speech, and the hands are there in a dead body, but the dead body doesn't speak or doesn't operate the hands. If it did, it would not be dead. So the Sukshma Shariram is missing in the dead body, the Karmendriyas are missing, therefore the dead body is unable to operate these organs. The Vak, the organ of speech. There's again an amazing set of principles behind its operation. I can convert thought into sounds using this organ. Thought is converted to sound. A speaker, for example, converts electrical signals into sound, but this converts thoughts into sound. And then there are so many languages. A person can speak multiple languages. Based on the context, one can switch from one language to another. Whenever there is transfer of knowledge from one person to another, this is Vagindriyam is involved. Because there is no way of directly transferring thoughts from one mind to the another. The thoughts have to be converted into Vagindriyam, into Vak, speech. And the Vak has to be heard by that Jnanendriyam, and then it gets converted to thoughts in the other mind. So I use my Karmendriyas. Right now, you're using your Jnanendriyas. Sometime later, you will use your Karmendriya of speech, and I will use my Jnanendriya. This is how that entire communication happens. Then Panihi, the organ of handling objects. So much intricacy with all of these fingers. I can grasp, I can drop, I can hit, I can defend, I can type or even play an instrument. It's just amazing if you look at all these Veena players, how their Karmendriya works. Suddenly he goes here, presses something, he goes here, presses something, beautiful music is created. So Panihi. Pada, the organ of locomotion. I can move around, I can jump, I can kick, all because of the operation of the Karmendriya, Pada Karmendriya. And then Payuhu, the organ of evacuation. Very important for the body to dispose the toxins periodically. A very critical function is served by Payuhu. Both solid and liquid waste elimination are done by this Karmendriya of Payuhu. And Upastha, which is the organ of reproduction. That is how the continuation of the species happens. And then it gets into the devatas for each of these karmendriyas. Again, the same idea. The Ishvara, when looked at from the standpoint of the operation of that particular organ as the governor of the laws and principles of the blueprint, for the operation of that organ is there in this creation. Either inherit that power of speech. I did not author this power of speech, nor did my parents. I inherited from somewhere. That source from which I have inherited this power of speech is the Vak Devata. So Vacho Devataha, Vacho Devata Agnihi. Agnihi is said to be the Devata of speech. The reason is that speech, when one speaks on a certain topic, and it's supposed to throw light on that topic. And Agnihi is the source of all light in this creation is Agnihi. Now it can be said that Agnihi is a devata of heat also. Therefore, sometimes when people speak, they generate heat instead of light. Therefore, we say that we have to be careful. Our speech should generate the light. Agnihi here is meant as a devata of light, not as a devata of heat. Vacho devata Agnihi. Panyor Hastayor. Hastayor Indraha. Indraha is the devata, is Ishvara when looked at from the standpoint of the operation of the Pani Karmendriya is called Indraha. Padayor Vishnu. Ishvara from the standpoint of the operation of my feet, Karmendriya, called Vishnu. Vishnu is all pervading. What I'm doing is, with my feet, I'm moving around. And Vishnu came in the form of Vamana Avatara, Vikramaha. And what did he do? He took 3 steps and conquered the whole world. So he is a lord of the steps. Padayor Vishnu. Payor Mrityuhu. The organ of evacuation is governed by Yamaha, Mrityuhu. Just as in this world, when a jiva in a stula sharira, when the time is up, that jiva is removed, separated from the stula sharira. The stula sharira cannot serve the jiva's purpose anymore. Similarly, the materials in the body that don't serve any purpose, they are all evacuated. Yamaha is the devata of Payuhu. And Upasthasya Prajapatihi, the Ishvara, when looked at as from the standpoint of the organ of reproduction, is Brahma or Prajapati, who is the creator. The entire cosmos is created by Brahma. You look at it, when we talk about Brahma, it is the Samashti Sukshma Sharira. Hiranyagarbha, that is the Devata of Upastha, the organ of reproduction. Then it gets into the Vishaya of each of these Karmendriyas. Vacho Vishaya Bhashanam, the area of operation of Vag Indriya is speech. Panyor Vishaya Vastugrahanam, the area of operation of the Pani Karmendriya, the handling of objects. Padayor Vishaya Gamanam, the area of operation of the feet. Karmendriya is moving around, Gamanam. Payor Vishaya Malatyagaha, the area of operation of the Payu Karmendriya, Malatyagaha, in getting rid of waste. And Upasthasya Vishaya Ananda iti, the operation of the organ of reproduction is said to be, the area of operation is said to be Ananda, meaning that there is a certain Vishesha Sukha in the process of reproduction. And also, the child is seen as a source of joy for the parents. Therefore, Vishayaha Upasthasya Vishayaha Ananda iti. So with this, we have looked at the Pancha Jnanendriyani and the Pancha Karmendriyani as discussed in Tattva Bodha for the Sukshma Sharira. We looked at the 10 out of the 17 components. The next are the Pancha Pranas, Pancha Pranadayaha, are the next 5 components. Interestingly, Tattva Bodha does not get into the 5 pranas and what they are. So we'll quickly look at that. Either it was not there in the original Tattva Bodha at all, or perhaps it was lost in the manuscript somewhere. It is possible. But being important, it is worthwhile spending a bit of time on understanding these 5 pranas also, because they are an integral component of the Sukshma Sharira. So as we said, the pranas are not directly involved in interacting with the world. The pranas are just housekeepers. Very important function. They are keeping the house in order. They are keeping the physical body in order. They keep it alive. They serve the critical functions that are needed to keep the body alive. So what are these functions? So the Pancha Pranas are Pranaha, Apanaha, Vyanaha, Udanaha, and Samanaha. So Pranaha is said to be Prano Nama Praggamanavan Nasagrasthanavarti. This is not in the Tattva Bodha itself. This is extracted from another text which is Vedanta Sara. Prano Nama Praggamanavan means this Prana Vayu moves in front. Moves in front meaning the form of my inhalation and exhalation. This Prana Vayu is there. And I can feel it at the tip of my nose. If I keep my 2 fingers here, I can feel it very distinctly. Nasagrasthanavarti, meaning that it is at the tip of the nose. So this is what absorbs the Vayu and gives out the stale Vayu. Very important function for the survival of the body. This is prana. Apana. Apano nama avaggamanavan. Vaivadi sthanavarti. Avaggamanavan, meaning that it moves downwards. This apana prana, it moves downwards, below the navel. It is responsible for the organs of evacuation. Through the evacuation, because of this prana, the evacuation happens. Payavadi sthanavarti, meaning that it is located in the Payuhu area. Payuhu we just discussed is the organ of evacuation. Then the third is samana. And those who do the parisheshanam, we would be familiar, or during the Naivedyam, we invoke all of these pranas. Samana. Samano nama sharira madhyagataha. Ashita pita annadi samikarana karaha. Samano nama sharira madhyagataha, meaning that it is located in the middle of this body. It doesn't travel, it's not gamanavan. It is sharira madhyagataha. It is there. Ashita pita annadi samikarana karaha. Whatever is eaten or drunk, it basically digests that. This is samana prana. And then vyanaha. Vyano nama vishwagamanavan akhila shariravarti. This vyana, vishwagamanavan, meaning it moves in all directions in the body. Vishwagamanavan. Akhila shariravarti, it is located everywhere in the body. Akhila shariravarti. And it is responsible for transferring this energy. So samana converts this digestive, the food, idli, dosa, whatever, rasgulla, whatever one is eating, it gets converted into energy. Samana is doing that job. Samikarana karaha. And then the vyana is responsible for moving this energy across the body to all the parts of the body. To every cell of the body, that energy goes. Finally, udana prana. Udano nama kanthasthaniya urdhvagamanavan utkramana vayuhu. Udano nama kanthasthaniya. Udana prana is located in the throat area. Kanthasthaniya. Urdhvagamanavan, it moves upwards. So there is this peristaltic motion when we are eating something. Then this peristalsis moves downwards, pushes the foot downwards. But then this udana pushes it upwards. That is what happens if we consume something bad, let us say. One wants to vomit. So it's an emergency mechanism in some sense that it gets operational only under emergencies when something has to be pushed out due to vomiting, etc. Urdhvagamanavan, it moves upwards. There's another very, very important event in which this udana prana kicks in. And that is at the time of death. Because when one is vacating the residence, even if we take the physical residence, if one is moving from one house to another, then one calls these packers and movers. They come in and then they pack everything in boxes. And then they move all these boxes out of the house, and then they transport it. So this udana prana does this job at the time of the death. It packs all these 17 ingredients of the sukshma sharira. Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Pranas, Manaha, Buddhi. It drags all of this out of the sthula sharira and packs them, and drags the sukshma sharira out of the sthula sharira. It drags. This is the job of udana prana. So with this we covered the 5 pranas also. So we have covered the 15 ingredients of the sukshma sharira. That leaves us with manaha, cha ekam, buddhi cha eka. As we said, when these Jnanendriyas report something, there is jnanam that takes place in the mind. Now the mind deliberates on it. It is the seat of deliberation. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha. The seat of deliberation. Should I do this? Should I do that? Etc. Should I do it today? Should I do it tomorrow? Should I do it here? Should I do it elsewhere? With whom do I do it? With what do I do it? All of this deliberation happens in the mind. And then the mind is also the seat of emotion. Kamaha, krodhaha, shokaha, lobhaha. Kamaha, desire. Lobhaha, greed. Krodhaha, anger. Shokaha, grief. All of these emotions, seat of emotions is mind, the seat of emotions. And all of these vrittis also take place in the mind. As we said, when the Jnanendriyas are moving around, the vritti takes place. So this is the mind, seat of deliberation. Now, at the end of all of this deliberation, the decision has to be made. That is the buddhi, that this is what I will do. I will do it at this time, with this person, at this place, with this instrument. All of that is decided by the buddhi. Really speaking, we say there is one antahkarana. There is one internal organ. From the perspective of one function, deliberation, emotions, etc., it's called the mind. The same organ from the function of decision making is called the buddhi. For example, there is one person and he goes out and he goes to his office. He is the commander-in-chief of the military, let's say, or the commander-in-chief of the police force. The same person comes back home and he is an obedient husband who makes tea for his wife. So now it is the same person. The same person is doing two different roles. So similarly, it's the same organ, the antakarana. When it's doing the function of deliberation, emotions, etc., we call it manaha. When it's doing the function of decision making, we call it the buddhi. These are the 17 ingredients. Saptadasha kalabhihi saha yattishtati tat sukshma shariram. Pancha jnanendriyani, pancha karmendriyani, pancha pranadayah, manaschaikam, buddhischaika. The entire apparatus which has these 17 constituents. That is the Sukshma Shariram. This is Anātmā. Number 2. I am not this Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharirat Vyatiriktaha Ātmā. This concludes our discussion of the Sukshma Sharira. And in the next class, we will take up the Karana Shariram. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Any comments or questions? Okay, then we'll conclude today. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Guruji. Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari.